welcome to another episode of You Don't Know Jack with Lydia and Matt. How's it going?
Good, Lydia. Season 4, episode 12.
Yes.
A small break here, a holiday and logistical break.
Yeah.
But
I was
we're
in
back.
San Diego.
Yeah, I know.
For work. Don't think I was just enjoying the sunshine.
But didn't suck.
I wasn't opposed to it.
Yeah.
How about that?
No,
No, it was really lovely. And
it's a
then
great town.
it's a fantastic town. I was in Oceanside, California.
And Oceanside too.
And so it was fantastic and got a lot of work done, got a lot of relaxing done at the same time, which was fun.
It's really neat going up with the one or whatever, and you have like Del Mar and Oceanside and some of this some of those little small towns.
It's like a little tiny beach town. Oceanside has really taken off in the last few years. Like they've got new hotels, and the downtown is like a lot different than it was in years past. But it was still lovely. I enjoyed our time there, and flew back to 40-mile-an-hour winds, which was fun to land in. And rain going horizontal. So when I got off the shuttle bus to the car, I yelled, "This is really stupid," all the way to the car. So it was a definite, it was awful when I got back. And then it snowed. Yeah. Your favorite.
I know. So seasonal affective disorder is absolutely a real thing.
Uh-huh. But this week has been lovely.
It has. It's definitely gotten better.
Yeah.
It's still, I don't know.
It's raining.
Yeah, it's raining.
But
it's
it's
wet.
40 degrees. So
I'm still cold.
You're still cold?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my God. What are we going to do with you? Light a fire?
Yeah. I was going to say, send me to Florida, but I'd rather, the state I did not want to be part of. Send me to, I don't know where. California.
Arizona?
Yeah, Arizona.
Really? Arizona over Florida?
Whoa. Oh, yeah. I don't want to live in Ron DeSanctimonious's world.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. I mean, maybe you could go to an island.
Yeah, there you go.
Island life?
Yeah.
Couldn't you do remote work?
I like island life.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Well, it's a big day here on Podcast Hill. Ravens are in the playoffs.
It's been a
championship.
It's game. A big weekend.
It's a huge weekend.
So my daughter is no longer will always be my child, but is not legally a child anymore.
Yes.
So shout out to my 18-year-old daughter Rory.
Happy birthday, Rory.
We're matriculating through the college choices, and more and more choices seem to be coming her way, which is also awesome.
Yes.
Go Terps.
Yep. I support that.
Just subliminally, not even being subliminal, just like Terps.
Yeah, stay in your state.
Yeah. Be down for your state.
Absolutely.
So and then we have the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been an exciting weekend.
It's an exciting weekend. Yeah, I think today's going to be great. It's 3:00 game. It's early game. It's nice. Harbaugh gave the fans an assignment. He coached them slightly and said,
"Strange family.
They're
strange people.
Strange people, but at least
they can coach.
They can coach. I was gonna say strange people, but let's face it, they're in the championship.
That
game.
creep can coach, man. Mm-hmm. There's a little Lebowski, a little play on Lebowski.
That's good. That's how we're going to refer to the Harbaugh from now on. That creep can coach.
Say what you want about him, man. Those creeps can coach.
Man, those creeps can coach. But yeah, so he said, listen, get a good meal, get a good night's sleep, come prepared tomorrow at the M&T Bank Stadium.
See, I hear get a good meal, get a good night's sleep. That means get there at M&T Bank, get liquored up.
Whatever the case is, he's just saying
make
sure you lay down a good base.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't pass out before the game
He was
starts.
getting them set up to get ready to get liquored up.
Yeah, 100%.
But Baltimore, it's going to be a huge production in the city. First time for the Ravens ever. First time since
United.
Since 1971 when the Colts went on to win Super Bowl 5. Johnny Unitas won the home game in the AFC American Championship Conference or American Conference Championship, whatever the heck they called it, the AFC title game.
I will say so. Mahomes, they interviewed Mahomes about this game. And he says this between Seattle and Baltimore is the only time that he has to use silent signals because the crowd is so loud and so intense. And I think that in the postseason, it's only gotten more intense in Baltimore, and people are having difficulty hearing on the field.
I've always sort of pointed this out to people, and I think it's since 2000. You can look at the stats. Baltimore has the second highest. I think it's the second highest home winning percentage in the entire NFL for 20 some odd years, and it's second only to the New England Patriots. Okay, and that run that they were on. But the Ravens have had different guys and this and that, but they're just really tough at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not always a huge fan of Pat McAfee, But McAfee was saying, like, Baltimore is a sneaky, really hard place to play. And that's what he was talking about as a player. He's like, man, that crowd is wound up. They're blue collar. They're intense.
They're gritty.
Yeah. And he's like, you're hoping if you're the Chiefs, he's saying, like, if you're playing against Baltimore and they start to roll, it's just going to get harder and harder. The crowd gets tougher and tougher, and they're louder and more amped up. Saying, like, you're trying to take the Ravens crowd out of the game as early as you can. Maybe they're playing catch up because
listen, Omar's whistle comes on.
I know.
It's over.
It is. I mean,
it's over.
And then you're going to hear that. You're going to hear other places have copied it. Baltimore's going to play Seven Nation Army, the White Stripes, because, it says, I'm going to Baltimore. I mean, a Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back. And so, man, Baltimore has just adopted that song since it came out.
Yeah.
So, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed are going to be are coming out with the team. I think Terrell Suggs is going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're bringing out Michael Phelps is going to be in town. Obviously, I have no doubt that Governor Moore will be there. He was there last week.
Yeah.
The Mayor Brandon Scott's going to, I mean, it is
They're
going to
coming
be,
out.
by Baltimore standards, it will be a star-studded affair.
I mean, well, because in Baltimore, your celebrities are your athletes.
Right.
And it's sort of like, no, you're coming here and you're buying into Baltimore mentality. Right. And like we've talked about this before in the past on the show, Baltimore is a town that you fall in love with because of the people. Right. And they're hardworking people. They wear their heart on their sleeves and they're all in and they support you. But, I would not want to be a player from another team coming into that environment because
they're going to make it hard.
They're going to make it super hard.
I'm always amazed by, I think, and maybe this is, maybe it's not always reality. It's just the perception is where teams sort of take on the identity of their towns, I mean, you think about, the Baltimore and in Pittsburgh are perfect examples, that gritty defense that, man, they're going to play really hard. They're just going to be blue collar. They like blue collar players.
Yeah.
Now, again, you'd say that and you'd say, Matt, the Ravens had Ray Lewis. There ain't nothing blue collar about that guy. But the way he played.
Hard.
It was hard. Yeah. And just kind of that lunch pail mentality.
The effort.
Yeah. And even when you look, by the way, also going to be there. Brandon Hyde,
nice.
Giving a lot of support. The Orioles are all in, and it's great to see because the Ravens have constantly supported the Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, they go to games.
There's been stuff on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, about the Orioles as a franchise and their individual guys supporting the Ravens. But even the way that the Orioles are playing, the new version of the Orioles, and go back in history. But these guys, they're effort guys. They run hard. They play hard. They're young. They're energetic. And I think. So, I think that your city takes that on. I think Baltimore is – I do worry about could Baltimore psych itself out of the game.
I don't know. I think they're locked and loaded. And listen, last week's game was fantastic.
Yeah. In the second half, the Ravens really put on really a clinic on both sides of the ball.
They did.
You know what I mean? The offense, those long, just grinding drives. The defense literally got no sacks and forced no turnovers. Which they lead the league in doing, and the Texans just couldn't score.
No.
C.J. Stroud, he wasn't getting sacked or turning it over, but he was a lot of, I'm going to live to play another day. Like, I'm going to run. They were constantly moving him off the spot. He had to run, throw the ball away. Throw the ball away.
He was running back or to the sidelines. No, I feel like they're dialed in. I feel good about it.
But I look at, Kansas City, we talked about the Ravens defense, about turnovers and sacks and points allowed.
Yeah.
The second best team in the NFL is Kansas City.
Yeah,
that defense is really good.
Well,
a little susceptible to the run, but the defense is very good.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, the Ravens are 14-4 and the Chiefs are 13-6.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're just looking on stats, you should be like, well, the Ravens. Right. But, the Ravens at home games force the most false starts.
Right.
And turnover,
Right. And that is the crowd. That's what her. But, but I look at this and say, Kansas City's, man, the offense has really sort of gotten rolling here. The last, you've seen it kind of rounding into shape.
Yeah.
Some of these other receivers, Rice is stepping up. Valdez Scanlon's made some catches. Obviously the tight end. I mean, Kelsey's a Hall of Famer. And, Pacheco, the way he runs the ball, man, that guy runs angry. He runs hard.
And high stepper.
Yeah. And look, when the rubber meets the road, I love Lamar Jackson, man, but Patrick Mahomes is a different guy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is that, is he the modern version of Tom Brady or of Joe Montana? Go back through history. There's guys that just find ways to win for their team and win different ways.
And he does. But it's going to, regardless, it's going to be a good game.
I think so.
But I'm all in for Baltimore.
Oh, I'm like I said, down from a town.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, Ravens 4.5 point favorite, which means they're about 1.5 on a neutral site.
Yeah.
I think this game could go. Look, I will be shocked if this is more than a 1-score game in either direction.
Mm-hmm.
I have this in my mind. I see the Ravens ahead, and I see Mahomes with the ball late. And what happens?
Hail Mary.
Or can he get the team across the line to score versus can the Ravens stop him? Can the Ravens be up 4 and he's got to score a touchdown? Does he drive him down? Does he get him there or not?
Yeah.
No, but I think it'll be a great day.
It's going to be electric for sure. You got a place to watch the game this afternoon?
I think I'll watch it in my own friendly confines.
Okay.
And stew there by myself.
Fine.
Eventually with my daughter coming over. But stew there with some anxiety.
God, and making chili.
And making chili.
Yeah, that'll warm you up.
Exactly.
Well, there's some new.
Then we had the other game, though. The
Lions.
San Francisco and the
49ers.
Lions. Look, I think everybody in America outside of 49ers fans would love to see the Lions do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you talk about it it would be like the blue collar bowl, Baltimore versus Detroit,
That'd
man.
be great.
I think San Francisco wins.
There is a theory that this might be far-fetched, but they put out the Super Bowl logo with colors well in advance.
Right.
And it seems like all the teams that end up in the Super Bowl have those colors in the logo, which would go back to that this is all pre-planned.
Right.
And the NFL is just like wrestling.
It's sports entertainment.
Sports entertainment. Right. And so the colors are purple and red. And so that would lean towards the Ravens and the 49ers.
Well, and a lot of people had predicted those two teams from the beginning of the season.
Right.
They thought that those teams were potentially Super Bowl odds-on favorites.
But I love the Lions. I would love them to beat the 49ers. I know the 49ers have had this. They've been up and coming for a while, and they've been knocking at the door for a while. I would love nothing more than to have two blue-collar teams go head-to-head in the Super Bowl. I think it would be amazing.
And two cities that need the spotlight, that are trying to reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
And no, I think it'd be great. I will certainly be cheering for the Lions.
Yeah.
I was working in my professional life. I've been working with these guys from Detroit. They're a law firm from Detroit, and
Nice.
and we were definitely mutually supporting one another.
Good.
So I'm going to be cheering for the Lions today too.
I just think it's going to be a good day for football. I'm excited. It's playoff season. We're almost at the end. So.
Yeah, and so no, it's but it'll be a very exciting AFC Championship Sunday.
Nice. I think Taylor Swift's going to be in Baltimore.
Yeah, and look, I am not like the anti-Taylor Swift guy.
No, listen. It's
I
not,
tell you what, here would be my knock on Taylor Swift. I think her being there has driven the prices of tickets.
I do too.
Which is, look, hey, it's not putting any money in her pocket.
No.
Okay, it's not putting any money really in the NFL's pocket. It's just costing people more money in the secondary market. Again, but I'm not knocking. Hey, whatever.
Listen, she's showing up, and she's not saying. They're putting her on
Yeah.
TV. She's not asking for that.
And somebody says, well, I'm sick of seeing her. I'm like, okay, but I'm sick of seeing Jerry Jones too. And I was sick, people were sick of seeing Kurt Warner's wife.
Yeah.
Why are we showing these guys?
Well, I will say that to her credit, she is very generous with tipping the staff that works in the boxes that she happens to be in. She did not go to the game in Kansas when it was negative degrees.
Yeah.
She was there.
No, like I said, I don't.
I have anything.
I don't
against
share
her.
the outrage of
I just think that Baltimore is going to welcome her in a very wonderful way. I don't know. It's a hard task.
No,
but she
it is. But I think.
But she's a Philly girl, so
Yeah, and she's someone said about this and that. I'm like, Taylor Swift doesn't need this to build her brand.
No.
Actually, the people that are way more happier are the NFL because you now have thousands of hundreds of thousands of people that may have not been football fans that are paying attention to football.
Well, they're paying attention to her at football games.
But I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that bought Travis Kelce jerseys that wouldn't have been able to pick Travis Kelce out of a lineup a year ago.
This is true, yeah.
And good for him, man. I mean,
whatever. It's working out.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, listen,
good for you, man.
I just want someone to cut his brother off, like his brother,
Jason?
Yeah, like Jason, no more beer, bro.
Oh, great though.
Yeah, I mean it was, but
he
it
was
was
like, you have to think about it. He's played a really hard season. this might be his last season.
It is. Well, I think he said done. He's
Well,
basically said he hasn't said it, but everyone sort of thinks he's done.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing: he's got 3 young girls,
Mm-hmm.
girl dad, and he is like ended a hard season. You know, off of losses, and ending your season is not easy. And he was just like, he wanted to party, he wanted to do the tailgate experience, and he did. And he had like this really, and he was just blowing off steam, and he was happy to be watching his brother play or whatever.
It's Buffalo in January. Put a shirt on, bro.
Well,
I mean, he's a big guy. I'm not saying he didn't look bad, but I'm saying like, dude, come on, man, put a shirt on, bro.
It's just, it is what it is. His daughter was watching the game with, I guess, her grandparents or something like that, and she said, "Oh, Dad's boobs are out," and I just think it's funny because I think it's funny. It's good to see a supportive family, football family,
and those 2 brothers are definitely very supportive of one another.
Yeah, and I just think it's like it's nice to see him, blowing off some steam, letting loose a little bit, and
he definitely was letting loose.
He's going to be in Baltimore today, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
So. A little warmer.
The Buffalo fans actually were surprisingly welcoming
they were very
when he came out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the Baltimore fans would be as welcoming if he came out. No. And again,
but he
not that
like
Buffalo's
nice
not a blue collar town. I don't know. I just think maybe they're a little kinder and gentler. Like, man, you got a fair,
like Midwesterner.
You get a fair mix of Canadians there too. Those games, Canadian nice.
Well, they also said because they grew up in Cincinnati.
Yeah, they're Cleveland, Cincinnati. They're in the Ohio area.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, Lake Erie. I just felt really like I was on the other side of Lake Erie. It's great. And so, but that's a whole different, like, that's a nice part of New York too.
Yeah.
Like,
very nice people.
Midwestern New York, right? But I don't know.
In Baltimore, I'm not sure I would advise that.
Well, no, I don't think, definitely not. Maybe we'll find out.
Interestingly, I will tell you, like I said, I'm not offended by Taylor Swift at all.
No.
Mahomes' wife wears on me a bit. Like,
God.
she's a bit, but again, she's a lot.
She's a lot. But
his brother, that degenerate, they have like buried him under the house, I guess, because
he's a little slightly problematic. Yeah. But I think that they're kind of trying to rehab his image a little bit. So hopefully that's good. Let's talk about some new coaches.
8 jobs open in the NFL? I think we're down only 2 vacancies though,
2
right?
Vacancies.
The Commanders.
The Commanders
in Seattle.
And Seattle.
And the only 2 jobs hanging out there.
Yeah. Belichick is done with the Patriots. He's moving on.
And Gerard Mayo took that job.
Yeah, Gerard Mayo took that job, which is great. Harbaugh's out at Michigan. We all knew that. That wasn't,
and that's clearly the big splash hire of the offseason is Jim Harbaugh.
Right, and he's going to the Chargers.
Off the 15-0 national championship, going to the Chargers.
I thought he would either go to the Chargers or Seattle.
And the Chargers make sense, though, if you think about it. He played there.
Yeah.
He coached in San Diego. Yeah. I mean, I know not San Diego anymore, but he's played for the Chargers.
Right.
He's not unfamiliar with Southern California.
Part of that organization, yeah.
And then, obviously, he coached in NorCal when he was at Stanford, so he's not unfamiliar with California.
And the 49ers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a
and the 49ers. Yeah, he's got a lot of California.
Yeah, he's got a lot
even
of
though he is a
California
Midwesterner, he's got a lot of ties to California.
Right. So it's not surprising. And, good for him. Nice weather, better weather than
that creep can coach. He's just a weird guy. That creep can coach me.
God.
I mean, I'm not saying he's doing anything like creepy with like other people.
No, it's just
he's
himself.
just weird.
He just is a weird, eccentric fellow.
Yeah, that creep can coach.
Yeah. Buys like khaki pants in bulk or something.
Yeah, I mean.
But yeah, so, and then Michigan's new head coach is Sherrone Moore. He's 37. He stepped in when Harbaugh was suspended. I think that was a great move by Michigan.
So my question is Crying Ryan going to be able to beat him? I mean, because he hasn't beaten Harbaugh in like 1,500 days,
Ryan
right?
might be out. I mean, it's a sad.
I don't think it matters what Ohio State's record is. If they don't meet Michigan this year, he's fired.
Yeah, of course.
They can be 11-0 going into that game.
That might be in his contract.
Yeah,
if you have so many losses to Michigan, you're out.
But I think, I was always amazed how long they tolerated John Cooper's poor success there.
Yeah, they did.
But I don't think they will tolerate that. I think that I think Ryan Day has to win. Mm-hmm. Sorry about the tangent there. I know you're an OH fan. Yeah. But I'm telling you, I think if he doesn't win that game, he's out.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with that.
And Moore already beat him. Moore beat him.
He beat him.
He beat him. He was filling in for Harbaugh. He won that game.
Yeah.
Was that game, where was it? Was it in Michigan this year? Or was it
in Michigan.
Okay, right. But yeah. But no, I thought hiring Moore was the right decision.
I think it's perfectly reasonable, and he stepped in and he's capable. He actually had proof of concept.
Yeah, but let me tell you, that is a tough job.
It's not a good one.
Those are jobs. Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, which is we're going to talk about that vacancy. those are jobs like, man, you got to win 11, 12 games a year.
You do.
They're not here to win 8 games.
No, they're
You
here to
know?
win all the
You
games.
win 8 games, they're like panicked.
Yes.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, they're like,
that's
oh
a
my-
losing season.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
win 10 games. You only win 9 or 10 games. They're like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's panic mode.
Well, let's talk about Mr. Saban.
Coach Saban,
Nick, he retired 72.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, and look, I think he looks like he was in good health.
Yeah.
He did say jokingly, it's hard to start a broadcasting career in your 80s. So if he wants to go into TV,
Nice.
look, I think what is there left for him to do, to prove?
Nothing. I did play golf.
Yeah.
Enjoy your life. Enjoy your family.
Make a bunch of money.
Make a bunch of money doing like ad spots or whatever.
And if you want to do broadcasting, by the way,
consult with other teams.
or by the way, think about it from a business standpoint. National companies, man, what a great guy to put on your board, right?
Yeah.
About from an organizational
Sure.
standpoint, an oversight. I mean, look, Nick Saban's going to have all kinds of opportunities. Somebody said they think he's a Democrat. He should be running against Tommy Tuberville.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and say
Yeah.
like, look, this guy's stone cold loser. We know I owned him.
Uh-huh.
Auburn, not Alabama.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and just
That would be great.
Oh,
I
but-
don't know if he wants to. I mean, I don't know.
He did grow up with Joe Manchin though. He and Joe Manchin are friends.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like
But no, I think good for him.
I'm happy for him. Take some time off. Figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
But just like actually take some time off. He'll still be at Alabama. He'll be at the games probably. He'll still be associated in some capacity.
And listen, I don't. It's really hard to rank greatest this and that.
Yeah.
Look,
I mean, his legacy
but
with coaches
Nick
is
Saban
crazy.
is somewhere in that discussion of all-time great coaches in
Yes.
college football. There's just, where does he rank? You talk about clearly like the Bear, and
Yeah.
and you talk about Woody, and you talk about Bo, and you talk about Bobby Bowden or Joe. Well, we don't talk about Joe Paterno anymore. But and obviously not on the wins, but on what he meant, like the Newt Rockneys of the
Yeah.
world. I don't know where he falls, but he's somewhere in that all-time great category.
Yeah.
He just is,
Yeah.
and good for him. And he looks like he's in, 72. Looks like he's in great health. And
Yeah.
he and Miss Terry, as he calls his wife.
Yeah, Miss Terry. I mean, I want them to have a fantastical rest of their existence.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think a lot of people are like, I can't believe he retired. I'm like, what do you mean? Like 72 on any other
people
other
are all
job.
retiring or already
Yeah.
retired by then.
Exactly.
And I think
by 10 years.
And I think though, remember in college football, the hard part is Saban may have wanted to coach next year, but it's always like you almost feel like you got to give kids like a 3 and 4 year commitment.
Yeah.
Because of they want to know that coach is going to be there.
Well, that's what Kalen DeBoer did at Washington. It's perfect. He got hired to coach at Alabama.
Right.
And he was offered a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator position at Alabama last year. And he said, listen, I can't do that. And he was offered a lot of money to do it. And he goes, I can't do that because I've got these kids. And I promised these kids at least a run for a national title. And that's exactly what he
took him
did.
on a run. No, he did.
And you know what? He got the best of both worlds. He was able to do that for the kids. And I think that showed Alabama like his commitment to the players, and then was able to transfer.
Man, what a tough job, Caleb DeBoer. And look, that guy has won everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
He was in like NAIA, and then he was somewhere else before he came to Washington.
Yeah.
But he's just won. And look, I think he could be a great coach, but man,
such big shoes to fill.
The best job is not following the legend; it's following the guy who follows the legend. You know what I mean?
But somebody's got to be that guy, and
No.
maybe, I think that he's written his own ticket in a lot of ways, and I think he's going to be fine. And I think the Alabama fans will be understanding for a hot minute.
For maybe this year.
Yes.
But look, that cupboard's not bare. Yeah, they've lost some guys that are transferring
Yeah.
out. But you have Milroe back. So you have the starting quarterback who's going to be clearly in the Heisman discussion.
Yeah.
Alabama, the cupboard is never bare.
No, absolutely not. They've got a great boosters program, which
Yeah.
really recruits good defensive line players and everything else. So I just think that it's going to be an interesting college football season to watch because there is such big shakeups in the coaching realm. I think Belichick should go to Navy. I think he should coach there. I think he wants to coach.
I think he does want to coach, but
I just don't think he's like a hot potato. It's kind of like Lamar with his contract.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted him because they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We want to, this is not so great.
Right.
We don't want to be that. We don't want to be those people.
Well,
right.
and I think you also worry about when you hire Belichick, like, okay, I'm only going to get him for 3 or 4 years,
Right.
right? I mean, because he's like the same age as Saban.
Right. So it's sort of like
and Pete Carroll was ousted are sort of ousted.
He was ousted.
But again, those guys are all septuagenarians. They're
out.
like 70,
they're
71,
aging out.
72. Yeah.
And they're like, okay, long term, you're not a good investment.
Right.
And that's exactly what, I mean, Robert Kraft is basically saying that we're not winning like listen,
I think they needed to part company.
They needed to do that. And they offered him to stay on to advise like what Pete Carroll is doing in Seattle. He didn't want to do that.
I think he wants to coach.
He wants to coach. So here you go, Bill. Ready? Take my advice. Call Navy. Go coach at Navy.
Remember, he grew up in Annapolis.
Yeah.
His dad coached a longtime coach and scout for Navy. So there's this very deep connection that he feels to the Naval Academy.
Then do it.
Yeah.
Then go and end your career where your dad started his and got your launching point. Just go back to Navy, coach at Navy, consult for other teams, whatever you want to do. But just come home and chill out and like have this nice transitionary period where you do maybe 3 or 4 years at Navy. You get the coaching staff together, you get it where it should be, and then you retire and you do something else. I know that's going to be really hard for you, but maybe go support your daughter who's a coach.
I think Bill Belichick, and his son's a coach,
Yeah.
was one of his assistants. I think Bill Belichick, despite the way he comes across, I think he's one of those guys probably really good on TV. Because when you've seen him on some programs when he's not coaching, he's really good. Like,
he's fantastic.
And by the way, you talk about a historian of football. That guy knows everything.
He does.
Like he's past the student of the game. He's the professor of the game.
Yeah, I agree.
He understands eras and players, and he's talking about guys in the 40s. Like he gets, like he's just ingrained in him. So I think
maybe he should start a podcast and start talking about the history of football, and we'd be more than happy to produce that for you, Bill.
Exactly.
If you move back to Annapolis, we can handle that for you.
Come on, Bill.
Come on back.
Yeah.
Come on home, hon.
Yeah.
I just think that, if you're going to do it at Navy, and the comparisons will be too much if you stay in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why he didn't get that Atlanta job. And I think that that's why he probably, is he going to do the Commanders? Would he go to the Commanders? I don't know.
I think the Commanders want to go young, though.
Yeah,
I think they do.
Everybody wants to go young. It's sort of like, I hate to be ageist here, but you guys have had your successes.
Right.
And it is time to let other people shine.
I think Bill Belichick also could be a really good advisor, even like general manager, much like Bill Parcells did.
Yeah.
Look, these guys understand talent.
Do you think he'd be a good commissioner for the NFL? Too toxic.
Yeah, too polarizing.
Yeah.
I think that would, in his age, would probably work against him there.
Yeah.
But no, I just think he would be. But I could see him as a really good, kind of GM kind of role. Or just like advisor to the owner.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy that you hire to help you hire your next general manager.
Right.
And
so maybe he does that for the Commanders and coaches at Navy.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm telling you, you should just come back to Maryland.
Yeah.
It'd be good for you.
I thought it would have been interesting, like, to see if he, ended up in Atlanta and like Saban just came to be his defensive coordinator because they just wanted to coach. They just like coaching. You know?
Wow.
And I thought, because that's where Nick Saban started, was his defensive coordinator in
Yeah.
Cleveland. He didn't start there, but they were connected there.
Sure.
But I do think those guys both are at their core coaches. I know they became heads of organizations. A lot of that makes you delegators and stuff like that. But I think both of those guys can really X and O. But I think Saban's done.
Yeah. I think he is.
You could always bring him, hey, things get bad over here. Country Roads could always bring him home to West Virginia.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
A favorite son of West Virginia.
Absolutely.
Neil Brown's always under heat. Bring Nick Saban back to Morgantown.
Just to come down to like a game and just be like, oh, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like get him back, go home, like just come back home. It'll be all right. We'll take you back. You did really well, and now you should come home.
But if you think about it, it's like I can hire Bill Belichick or I can hire Raheem Morris. And no disrespect to Raheem Morris, he's coached both sides of the ball. He's got some head coaching experience, done a really good job as a defensive coordinator lately. But it's like, in what world would you think that Raheem Morris would get hired over Bill Belichick? And he did, though. And
because
I think it's like
it's an age.
Yeah, I think it reeks of ageism.
Yeah, well,
but it's not that Raheem Morris isn't qualified. That's not my point. But it's like, the guy walks in and has like 6 Super Bowl rings as a head coach and 2 more around his neck as an assistant coach. It's like, that's like, a lot.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's also like, look at this season.
Yeah.
Can we look at this season
Yeah,
for the Pats? I mean, it's like
and look
atrocity.
at this, and without saying it, the season of his life.
Yeah.
And he is in the
He's in the season of his life.
in that season, a different season of
Yes,
his life
he
than
is.
Raheem Morris.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, go back to Navy and transition as a transitionary point to you retiring, getting on broadcast or whatever, or picking up the game of golf, or just being excited to not have to worry about things. Ty Johnson.
Yeah.
We got to talk about this local juggernaut.
He just keeps,
Heck of a year for him.
I mean, went from the practice squad to getting a lot of touches with the Bills.
Every time he touched the ball, he made a play.
Yeah. I mean,
every time. And he's been known for that. He's always been an underdog. Fort Hill, Maryland. Then he was at
Detroit, then the Jets.
Then the Jets, and then now the Bills.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's finally found his place at the Bills.
I hope so.
But here's the thing: every time he's gotten into the game, he makes plays.
He does.
You give him that ball, he's gonna do something with it.
Yep.
I just think it's great. And you know what I loved about the game last week? Yeah, they played the Chiefs. That's awesome. But we were rooting for Ty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like, we want him to do well. We don't want him to get injured. All of those things. I think as a community, I saw a million posts about Ty Johnson and doing really, really well.
People are so excited for him. So proud of him. And again, he is a proud son of Fort Hill. But
Absolutely.
listen, he transcends Fort Hill in this town. He's a Cumberlander.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Western Marylander.
Yeah.
He's a Marylander. You know, and
totally.
but he's again a proud son of Fort Hill, and I understand that. But I just think we're all proud of him.
Yeah, because he's a local kid.
Right,
and
we're
he's
all
doing
Ty Johnson fans.
We're all Ty Johnson fans. Also, off the field as well, when he's in his community, he gives back to his community. Yep. He's very supportive.
He's got, I think his nieces are at BW. He's very supportive of Bishop Walsh.
Yeah, he's doing a football camp.
He does up there at school. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's like, you got a guy that, and I will say all the professional sports players that have come out of Cumberland have always come home and have done really wonderful and supportive things. So, but yeah,
he follows that tradition.
Absolutely. So congratulations, Ty. Wonderful season.
Yeah, so let's hope he has a healthy off season. I don't think I'm sure he's beat up. He just played an NFL season, but last year he got injured actually working out. And then the Jets kind of hosed him.
Yeah.
But let's hope he has a safe off season. And let's hope he's back in Buffalo making plays. And hey, if he's not in Buffalo, I'd like to see him in Baltimore. He's one of those guys that always strikes me as a Raven, like the way he plays. The Ravens. There's been a lot this week talking about what the Ravens mean, like play like a Raven, or they draft guys that are Ravens, like they're looking for.
Then they should. They should get.
But I'm telling you, he's.
Oh my God! If Ty goes to the Ravens, it's all over but the Shelton.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. I think he would just be their kind of guy.
I agree.
Guy that would play special teams, guys that come in, just I don't know. That'd
run.
be like my dream.
Well, we'll put it out there then.
Yeah, exactly. Put out.
Go to the Ravens.
I've been manifesting lately, so there you go.
They're good. All right. Let's talk about college women's basketball. We'll wrap this podcast up with
some interesting things in college women's basketball. It's been an exciting year.
Let me tell you, I know more about women's college basketball than I do at men's at this point, and I'm not mad about it. South Carolina beat LSU at home. Yeah. Crazy game. They interviewed Dawn after the game, and they're like, "How did you handle the crowd?" They were really yelling, and they were booing her. Right. Okay, that was the thing. Right. And she says, "Oh, it's just the crowd." She's like, "It was intense, and they were kind of not lovely." And she goes, "What do you mean? They were calling me boo." Love her attitude. It's great. And then they also asked her about, do you think it's, a good thing that women's basketball is now finally getting the spot? She's like, listen, we've always been good. Just nobody was paying attention. And now they're paying attention because we're so good you can't not. Right. So I think she's good. She's a great spokesperson for college women's basketball. OSU beat Iowa in overtime.
Yeah, but you Buckeye fans.
Yeah, the Schottenstein Arena.
Well, listen, I love the fact that a women's game is important enough that fans do rush the court. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But, man, you can't hit the players,
no,
especially you can't hit the talent, especially when it's Caitlin Clark. And
I
don't think the girl that ran into her did it on purpose. It was still.
It was probably a crowd control.
But it was just like, come on, man. Ohio State, be better in terms of protecting those players.
Well, I also think that the security probably wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
because I'm sure that they weren't used to like, oh, it's a women's game, whatever. And they were sitting on, they were kind of chilling. They're like, oh, women's games aren't going to be
I'm
like
doing
this.
the women's
They're
games.
not that rowdy.
Easy money this week.
Yeah,
no.
not that rowdy.
Yeah.
Well, now watch out. Stanford coach Tara Vanderveer has set the record for all-time winningest coach in NCAA history.
Just past Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski. What is it? How many years at Stanford?
38 seasons at Stanford. She has 1,203 wins and 267 losses.
And has it all been at Stanford, or did she coach somewhere else before?
No, all at Stanford.
Stanford. Okay.
Yeah, she's 38 seasons at Stanford.
And I know she's coached, the Olympic team before. She's won, 3 or 4 national titles, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. I think, and then like she's won Coach of the Year like multiple times, and NCAA coach, I don't know, like best team, all around coach or something like that. She's won a lot of awards. But like as you say, like Gino's right behind her with
I mean that's the interesting thing is like Gino's Ariema is 9 games behind her, so it's like literally the last person standing is going to have that record. Like,
exactly. But I just think it was great. She made big headlines. They really pushed it. They really made a big deal about it on the national broadcasting, which I thought was a huge shift.
And a lot of her players came home to celebrate that with her. No, it was.
I mean, she's. As far as I'm concerned, the best women's coach for me was Pat Summitt.
I agree with that.
And she is of that ilk of that she was, coaching around the same time, and same thing with Gino. I feel like that caliber of coaching, they're maintaining that tradition and caliber of coaching, and then you've got people like Don who are continuing that.
I always think though when it comes to women's basketball, Pat Summitt stands alone.
Yep.
Because for so many years she was the star.
She was, and
she knew it. She was the star. She was the ambassador and the X and O'er, and the talent.
Yeah.
And you know where I talked about where Nick Saban ranks and where you put in Mount Rushmore and stuff. See, in college, women's college basketball, that's very easy. I'm like, it's Pat Summitt.
Yeah.
It's just like in men's college basketball, I'd say John Wooden. It's just John Wooden.
Yep.
It just is. And it's not about the most wins, even though that matters. But you could say, Adolph Rupp or Bobby Knight, or you can start throwing different guys. Coach K, you can start Dean. I'm like, but John Wooden's just different, man. It's just different.
It's a whole different thing.
And the way that the pyramid of success, and the way he just that the whole package. I think it's Pat Summitt. I think it's the same thing.
Pat Summitt really, she was like, we can play women demure basketball, or we can get in there and mess it up, and we're gonna push each other's programs to create the most talented players. And they had, before the WNBA, there was it was called the American Basketball League, and it was the first women's professional basketball league, and they were great, and a lot of and Pat really pushed for that, and a lot of her players went to the ABL, which they played in Ohio.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of the ABL games when I went to go visit my grandmother. But it was incredible for me as a high school student watching all these players from Tennessee and UConn like play right in front of me, and I like followed them for years. And now you've got the WNBA, and Pat really laid the groundwork for that. So, I think it's great. It's long overdue that women's basketball coaches are getting this acknowledgement. And when it came across, the feed, I was like, this is great. I don't have to dig for this.
See, it's funny when I think about like all-time great basketball coaches, Pat Summitt's name's going to be in that discussion.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about women's. I'm talking about just coaches in general.
Exactly.
You coach men's, women's, whatever. Like, I mean, she would be in that discussion for me.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I will leave it with this as we're talking about women's sports, about where I think you and I are big supporters of WNBA. We think it's trending the right way.
Yep.
Here is the problem. Caitlin Clark is going to come back to Iowa next year because she makes more money, and I'm happy for an NIL money in Iowa that they can possibly pay her in the WNBA. And that's still got to get fixed because, now listen, if I'm Caitlin Clark, there is no freaking way I'm going to the WNBA to make 150, 200 grand when I can make $1.5 million at Iowa. You've got to talk to her and say, this is as a girl dad, as a parent, I'd be like, dear, like, listen, Caitlin, we got to talk here. This is your moment. Take this cash, WNBA, wait. But you know what?
Invest it properly.
Right. And if, heaven forbid, you hurt yourself, that money's going to be there.
Right. It's a nice safety net. I will say this, the WNBA, not thrilled with their leadership. Yeah. And we've talked about this in the past. They are not doing team expansions like they should. You've got this incredible talent pool coming out of college that you're just like, we just don't have enough places for you. I'm so sorry. Right. What are you talking about? There is a market here This is the fastest growing expansion in any sports in history. And now you're not going to capitalize on it. And also,
there are consumers that want to consume. So, you find something for them to consume. You
correct.
put them somewhere and let them consume it.
And you've got like Caitlin Clark, you've got, you've got
Angel Reese.
Angel, she fouled out of that game. But anyway, so Angel, you've got all these people that have all these great NIL deals. They've got a following behind them. Any team they go to, they fall in love with that player. They're following that player no matter what team they go to. They're buying their jerseys. They're going to games. They're doing all these things, and you're just leaving that money on the the floor.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you still look at it, we get way more women's college basketball shown. They get shown at prime times.
Yep.
There's just more hype about it. And again, I don't think it's that there isn't a market. I think you're right. Maybe, and it's breaking in. It's always tough, but it's also the people that are trying to do the marketing. It's a leadership issue. I think
it's a total leadership issue, and
they got to be better.
We don't know, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And here's the other thing: the NBA has been a great partner with the WNBA. Yeah. The NBA needs to kind of, the players need to advocate on behalf of women's players. They're starting to show up to games. They're doing it. They're doing the thing. They also need to advocate on the fact that they're not getting paid as much.
Yeah.
And they have the spotlight longer than the women do, and they need to really be advocating for their sister organization. And the Aces, the Las Vegas Aces, look at that team. That owner, hook, line, and let's pay them. Let's give them amazing
Mark Davis.
Amazing practice facilities. Let's get them the best coaching. Let's do all that stuff. Let's see what happens. Back-to-back championships. Yeah. You have got to invest in that team like the NBA owners invest in their teams.
I will tell you, and we're right around the 4th anniversary. You talk about would have been the perfect commissioner for the WNBA is Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
If I was sitting there thinking a couple years from now, who I might think of my commissioner is LeBron James.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to raise that profile.
Yeah. Or Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Or,
one of those. Kobe's the easiest because he was such a devout, supporter of women's basketball. He had a daughter, Gianna, that unfortunately passed away with him. He was like a huge proponent of women's basketball.
Yeah.
But might get somebody like LeBron to say, you know what, I'm going to pick up the torch. One, I support it. It's good basketball, but I'm going to do this because Kobe can't do it, And
I think that might be a really great thing for him to do. Yeah. And at the end of the day, LeBron is a businessman. And if
LeBron thinks he can make money on doing it, and I would say, hey, I think they should let him own a franchise and be the commissioner. And you know what? If you may, or give him a piece of the action. I think Dwayne Wade, if you expand our brand.
Yeah, I think Dwayne Wade is an owner of one of the WNBA teams.
But look, and Dwayne Wade, Hall of Famer, but he's not.
He doesn't have the profile.
He's not LeBron James. There's few athletes in the world that have that profile. Kobe had it. Yep. LeBron has it. Michael Jordan. Yeah. I'm talking about an NBA guys that Magic.
Yeah.
It's a small list of guys that truly have that gigantic profile.
Yeah, and I hope that
Steph maybe.
Steph does. I mean, Steph. He Under Armour sponsors him. He has the Steph shoes. Yeah. He had and he's a girl dad.
Yeah.
And he basically said there's a girl that wanted to get his new Currys, right? And she went and she was like, why don't they have this in girl sizes? Like, I don't understand. Right. She wrote him a letter and he goes, that is a gross oversight on our part. We're going to do it. And she just helped him design shoes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I mean, like, I think that the basketball player that I grew up with, there wasn't an WNBA to be supportive of. And also I don't think that women's sports was in their kind of purview at all. Then they had daughters and they were playing. And so it's sort of just an influence of like your own personal influence of what you have. And I think players now in the NBA they're going to college with equal stars. Yeah. And they're going, oh my God, why aren't you paying her what she deserves?
Look, there's no one on the Iowa men's team that is nearly as big a star as Caitlin Clark.
Right.
I would argue there's nobody in college. The Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in college basketball.
Right. I would say it was like Aaliyah Boston, and then it's Caitlin Clark.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And, Angel Reese was sort of bumping up against her. Angel's, been working through some stuff as well.
But I think that's also a positive thing that she's.
It has been, but I'm saying, Caitlin Clark is clearly the biggest. I think she's the biggest star in college basketball. Yes. Not just. I'm not making a distinction of men's and women's.
No.
I mean, what name do you know better? Tell me a men's name that you know better.
I can't. Listen, I'm telling you, I don't know anything about men's college. Right. basketball at this point, I haven't been paying attention because it's not nearly as exciting
I agree
as
with
it
that.
is to watch
Yeah.
South Carolina
Listen,
play LSU
I
at
wa-
home and win.
I watch Maryland play, and it's been painful. Even when
Yeah.
they win, it's painful. It's not
Yeah.
entertaining. So.
I'm telling you, like, women's college basketball is far more exciting
I agree.
than men's.
So.
So get on it, people.
So that's season 4, episode 12.
In the books.
And after, again, a slight break, but we're back.
Yeah, we're
Better
back.
than ever.
I think so.
I think strong.
We are strong. We're strong in our opinions.
Yeah.
We're strong in our knowledge. And we're gonna have a great rest of the week.
Great. From your lips to God's ears.
It's not gonna snow. It's gonna maintain a reasonable, balmy temperature. I'm manifesting.
I'm trying to do that too.
Mother Nature listening?
Probably not.
No. She's a fickle lady.
So, for those if you haven't figured it out, as I've pointed out twice, it's episode 12 of season 4. Lydia, I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. That means there's 3 previous seasons and 11 previous episodes of season 4. If you just stumbled upon us right now, we'd ask you first to subscribe, like us on whatever platform you're on, give us a review. And if you want to find those other episodes, Lydia, where can they find them?
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Amazon, Google Play, Spotify, Audible.
Love Audible.
iHeartRadio, Deezer, Player FM, and Samsung.
Pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
Siri.
Yeah, you just say, hey, play, you don't know, Jack, your mom.
Right, your mom. You just make your mom put it on for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. We're on Instagram now.
Hey, if it ain't on Insta, it didn't happen.
Yeah, we're at Jack YDK Pod there.
So you can find us at on Twitter at Jack YDK, right?
Yes.
And so you can find Lydia on Twitter at
RTL Pod.
And you can find me at JMGGMPG.
Awesome. Well,
glad to be back.
Me too.
All right, we'll see you soon.